What's going on, everyone? All About the Data podcast. We back with another one. You already know we got another special guest in the building for y'all. And we got Lucky back in the building. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, I already know what it is. 2 times for my twin, Shanice. She can't be in the building today, so we going to represent and hold it down for her. We got Mr. Jafar Campbell back with us.
You know the vibes. We outside getting our data on.
Yep, and we are definitely not outside. We are inside doing this podcast.
Jesus Christ.
But we got our special guest, Gabrielle, with us today.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on? What's going on? So happy to be here with y'all.
Yes, we are happy to have you. Gabrielle, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you right quick. The class of 2019 graduate of Tulane University for Public Health and Tropical Medicine, where you obtained your MPH in epidemiology. I can never get that word right. I hope I said it right. You can
epidemiology. Now, talk me. Listen, now I paid good money for that degree. Now, okay, listen.
Epidemiology. See, that's why I got to get it right.
We in hard times now. Epidemiology.
Okay, epidemiology. All right. Specializing in infectious disease. While enrolled, you were also the 2018 to 2019 Albert Schweitzer Fellow, if I said that right. And you were also invited to present your research entitled HIV and Intersexuality, which is how social identities influence very incident rates of HIV among Black, cisgender, and transgender women, and the need for comprehensive data collection. So you definitely got to introduce, you definitely got an interesting background. And I would love for you to introduce yourself even more, things that we missed, things that you want people to know about yourself. Go ahead, Gabrielle, talk to the people.
Listen, I appreciate y'all. You know, you got to top me up. I appreciate you. Us in the South, we few and far between as far as epidemiology goes. But yeah, my name is Gabrielle Perry. I'm 29 years old. Born and raised in these bayous down here in Louisiana. Like you said, I am 3 years into this epidemiology thing. I work as an epidemiologist and clinical data analyst. I work for a national healthcare system. I'm not gonna blow up the spot too much. It's getting real tough out here for us in public health. They sending death threats to people. You know, what y'all see on the news and all that kind of stuff with the crazy COVID people. That is real life. So I'm not gonna say where I work, you know, but I work for a national healthcare system. I basically day-to-day analyze public health strategies in both infectious and chronic diseases. And for those people who really don't know, I know we 3 years into the pandemic and all that good stuff. A lot of people who don't really know what an epidemiologist is. Epidemiologist basically studies the distribution and determinants of diseases. A lot of people think that diseases happen just randomly. A lot of people still think that, given that we in the pandemic, but they don't. There's a formula to these things. We tend to be the intersect between tech and public health. I also am the founder and executive director of the Thurman Perry Foundation. So we are a Louisiana-based nonprofit operating nationally in service to women and girls impacted by incarceration, of which I am one. So I came from the jailhouse to grad school to tech. So that's me.
For introduction, 2 things I want to point out. One, wow, you only 29, killing the game like this already.
29 as of January this year. I'm trying to make this last year count as a 20. They say when you hit 30, you know, you wake up and your hip pop out the socket. That day.
I can vouch for it. I wake up, I feel like I need, you know, remember that Wizard of Oz slide? I need some oil. I need some oil. I feel a little rusty. But yeah, now you was right about the infectious disease too. It's funny. I actually did a lot of research on that since COVID started, and just realizing the cycle of like the every 100 years to every 50 years, and like, you know, how other pandemics were handled. It was a pretty interesting study too, though. I did it for the sake of my own personal study, so I can understand for myself. So I'm glad to have you on here. Maybe we can get some sneak peeks.
Into when the next one coming, who knows? Shy could be tomorrow. The way they acting out here, I don't know. But
I mean, like I said, like, and it's crazy. Like when I was researching it, and they was talking about influenza, and how influenza was like the whole 1918 to 1920 era. And I was like, wow, this pandemic started in 2019. It basically was on time in a sense. It basically came like right at the prediction mark, which was, that was like shocking to me.
It's insane. I really did not realize. I think that because we're so, a lot of things came into play into how we have handled COVID as a society, as a public health community. I think that we have gotten so insulated and so comfortable with technology, with our advances in medicine, that we forget, what are we, 60 years from the invention of penicillin, 65 years. Like things like that. Like we really are not that far away from these things. The last major pandemic, essentially 100 years ago, like there are people who are still alive who still remember that. There are people who are still alive who were vaccinated for polio. People who my brother is in the Air Force, and the people who are in the Air Force still have to get vaccinated for smallpox. Like, and it's been eradicated for a very long time, but there's still sects of the world who still have to get vaccinated for these things. Yeah. We are at any given moment, at any given time, we are teetering on the edge of these advances just not being valid anymore. Yeah. And I think people don't realize how these wins in medicine and were so hard fought. These things don't just happen. And so I just don't understand, the apprehension to it. I think that, we do the medical community a disservice. We do each other a disservice by not realizing that a lot of things had to sink together over a very large period of time for us to get to this moment where we can mobilize as a human race as quickly as we have to even have not just one vaccine, but multiple vaccines together, multiple tools together to work to save each other. But listen, listen, you gave me an hour. Listen, I need 2 to go into that.
Yeah. Keep going. I definitely understand because, but it's crazy because it was actually getting into data that made me look deeper into these things because, it's easy to go with what everybody's saying on the internet. But when you go actually look at the data, you can make sense of what's going on and like, studying data changed my whole perspective on that. But that is kind of a different topic within itself, even though it's not because you're in that field. But we're gonna get to the show. Interesting enough, you said this in your introduction, but I found out recently, and when I saw your pinned tweet for the first time, before this interview, I actually watched Twitter deep dives. Yeah, no, we had to. It's an interview about your brand, about you, but like it's funny because I followed you, but I'd never watched your pinned tweet till I had to research for this interview, and I was like, oh wow, you actually have a whole story, so a powerful story at that. So I would love for you to expound on, like the whole process of like, incarceration, coming out of incarceration, getting into data, getting to where you are now. Like, how did you do it? What kept you going?
So my pen tweet. At least I'm proud of my pen. I thought she was about to go into some deep dives. Like, listen, I've been on Twitter a while. Okay, that's I've been on Twitter since what they call it sometimes the old days of Twitter, the lawless days of Twitter. I've been on there. I've been on Twitter since you could text a tweet. But yeah, listen, them days of Twitter, I thought you had did like some deep dives. So me being 29, so I I'm gonna keep this as concise as possible, because when you start talking about like incarceration, when you start talking about these things I'm very, very passionate about, especially as it pertains to women incarceration. We're so erased in that regard. So I'm 29. I was arrested a week after my 21st birthday. For a non-violent, non-drug related charge. I had essentially stole some money. Not a super large sum of money, but I stole some money because literally was just trying to survive. My father, who my nonprofit organization now is named after, had died of cancer. And in the years after he had died, it was just the destruction of every bit of normalcy in my life, in my elderly mother's life, because I was adopted at birth and my parents were older when I was adopted. I was his primary caretaker. I was my mother's primary caretaker and still am. When he died, my mother was just being able to relearn how to walk from a rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis. So like medicine, public health was always a part of my life. I'd been their primary caretaker since I was 9 years old. His death, we lost my childhood home. By the time I hit college, I was having people at school, which was 3 hours away, like try to drive me back. I had neighbors looking after her, trying to take care of her. And I was their only kid together. So it was really just me. And I just didn't have any help at all. And so was just trying to make a way, trying to make it work. And of course I got caught, as you tend to, and never denied it. Confessed immediately. A very, very first 48. I was just like, I mean, whatever. Yeah, I did it. And so upon my arrest, I remember it wasn't even getting arrested that was the hard part. It was the aftermath. I always tell people, and I literally wrote about it in my personal statement to get into grad school. The nicest people I ever met were the women in the pink jail cell at East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Because I'm in there, I'm in like a oversized tee and workout tights and sneakers, and I'm hyperventilating because I'm freaking out. And I had just enough presence of mind to like write down like one person's phone number that I knew that I could call to let someone know that I was there. And they're looking at me like, girl, like, are you okay? Like, and I'm just in there just freaking out. And once you're in there for a while, I think I'd been in there maybe 12 hours or so, they take you back to the back. And once I got back to the back, there were a bunch of women in there who had been there for a while. And you're just in there. And I hadn't eaten all day. They didn't have enough inventory as far as like blankets and pillows and stuff like that goes. And these women just kind of saw me sitting there, and they had snacks hidden, and they gave me some. They gave me food. They just walked up to me and gave me food, and they gave me extra blankets, and they gave me extra pillows, and they would check on me maybe every 20 minutes or so. And they did that until I was bonded out. And when I was bonded out, so commenced many years of discrimination, like housing discrimination, because people don't realize it was many years until the wheels of justice turned, until my case was able to be handled, because they hit me with 27 felonies, and the judge ended up, because I was a first-time nonviolent offender, the judge ended up having mercy on me. He saw that I was going above and beyond with my community service and whatnot during the interim. There's a statute in Louisiana, hard fought by activists, to put that law in the books that says if you're a first-time nonviolent offender, we're going to lower this to misdemeanor. Ended up getting it down, and I was blessed enough to be able to pay the $3,000 to get my record expunged like 5 years later. But in those in between times, I was homeless because no one would rent to me. I didn't have any money because I couldn't get a job, because even just having the arrest, even without the conviction on your record, even just having the arrest in this country is enough to ensure that you cannot get public housing, you cannot get, private housing, because people can see that. People can see the arrest. And it was very public. Like, people on Twitter would like harass me about it. People came to the house I was staying in at the time before I was homeless and like pinned, like printed out copies of my mugshot to my door, or like taped it to my door and just harassed me about it. People harassed me all over campus about it. And it was just a lot. It was a lot of ostracism, and it was, I compare it now when we talk to the women that we help, I compare it now to the very stark contrast in how men are treated. Because you can be the hood's hero. You can be, we make shows about men who are, coming out of jail. They get to be your redemption story is already written for you. There's jobs waiting for you. There's housing vouchers waiting for you. There's halfway houses for you to go to. There's not that for women. That does not exist for women. And at least not in the droves that it does for men. And it was incredibly difficult. It was incredibly difficult. I remember being homeless and staying in this abandoned shotgun house on my church's property at the time. And they turned the electricity on, they turned the water on for me, but the pipes were rusted. And so the water wasn't potable. So I would still bathe in it, but I couldn't drink it. And I remember I would get up at like 5 a.m. every day because a church member gave me a job at like this little restaurant, if you want to call it that they were running near the Exxon plant to feed the Exxon workers in the mornings. They were only open from like 6 to 2 every day. And I walked like 3 miles every day in the morning, pitch black dark, to go work there. And they only paid me like $100 a week. And I did that for maybe like 6 months. And then I finally caught a break. I got an unpaid internship at Southern University. I worked for a man in the chemistry department, and with a cancer research internship, no less. And he was the one who wrote my letter of recommendation to get my state scholarships restored. In Louisiana, we have something called top scholarships that every student is entitled to if you're an in-state resident. And he wrote the letter of recommendation for me to get those restored so I can go back to school. He wrote the letter of recommendation for me to go back to school. And I was able to finish 2 undergrad degrees in 1. And I stayed with a distant family member, and I finished school. And while I was in undergrad, my penultimate semester, I was trying to figure out like what the next move was going to be, because I was finishing up in my undergrad degrees in biology and in general science with a concentration in chemistry. And the most you can do with that is go be like a teacher somewhere, a high school teacher somewhere or something like that. You can't do too much with it. And I was trying to figure out what the next move was going to be. I'd always been good at science and I'd always liked it. And, for Black kids, we're really given such limited options. Like, we're okay, well, go be an engineer, go be a doctor, and, suck it up and be happy. And we were really just given such limited options. And I remember learning about the epidemiology program at Tulane. And I'd always seen Tulane as this ivory tower school. It's a private, very, very expensive school, but a very prestigious school in my state. And I'd always just kind of just looked at it as like, oh, I could never go somewhere like that. And I remember applying. I think at the time it had like a 12% acceptance rate. So I was like, okay, shot in the dark, let's do it. And I remember the day I got my acceptance letter, and I was in OChem lab, just fighting for my life. I was at OChem 2 lab, actually, absolutely fighting for my life in there. And it just pinged to my phone, the acceptance letter. I was just checking my phone before class started. And I remember it was like just like a shift in the atmosphere. Like from that day forward, it was just like everything changed. And I remember going to grad school. I was the only Black girl. It was me. It was another Black girl from Arkansas who was in the epidemiology program, but unfortunately I think she ended up flunking out, because I remember after like first semester, she would like study with us a little bit, but I remember like she was really struggling. We just never saw her too much after that. I think she transferred. We didn't see her for a while, and then she came back, but I don't think she was in our program no more. But it was just, I was the only Black girl in the program after that, and it was me and a boy from Nigeria. It was just me and him.
Shout out to Nigeria.
Shout out to Nigeria. It was just me and him holding it down to graduation. And I remember being there, being very scared too, because I had always, math was the subject that I had always been the weakest in. I still excelled in it, but it was something I always had to focus the most in. Science came easy to me. English came very, very easy to me, but math was always something that was like, wow. So I was like, wow, okay, I just chose like the most math heavy subject ever. But I got to grad school and epidemiology came very, very easy to me. And I remember being there and being like the first one to raise my hand in class, like the first one getting in, like just really, it just coming to me very, very easy. And I sat down one day and I tried to figure out why, especially because in epidemiology programs, you have epidemiology and then you have biostats. And those are your two core classes. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. And I remember being in biostats, and that's where I was like, it was like I was catapulted back to like high school algebra, just trying to like figure it out, like it coming to me, but it coming to me slower. And I sat down and I tried to figure out why, because it's the same material. It's the exact same material, almost the exact same problems. And then I realized why it came easier to me in epidemiology. And it was because epi is math. It's math applied to real world issues. It's math applied to medicine. It's math applied to what we're living through now with this COVID pandemic. And I think that that's something that more Black people need to be exposed to, that once you realize like, hey, this is a field that exists, number one, and two, that it's not so intimidating if it's something that you love, if it's something that has real world implications. You're not just sitting down and doing math all day long. Like, this is something that really matters. Like, this is something, because what do we hear all the time? Hey, when are you ever going to use this? Okay, well, we're using it right now in the worst pandemic in a century. I'm doing exactly what I was doing in grad school. My books have come to life. So, I as soon as I graduated, the original plan was a PhD, because in grad school, that's what they kick at you, just PhD. I worked as a scribe for a while in the ER, but after that, and not very long after that, I got recruited to my current job because they love to recruit. And
what's your current job? Like, what you do?
So every day, I've been promoted once, but I've got 3 raises since, and like in those raises, it's kind of like mini promotions.
Yeah, let me hold some.
Listen, it's tough out here, player. Listen, in them promotions, it's like mini raises, and so it requires me to like know a little bit more. And so every day, I'm doing mainly Power BI, so it's dashboard. Like right now, we dashboard heavy. So a lot of hard coding, a lot of DAX formulas in Power BI. Anybody listening to this, learn Power BI. Learn Power BI. I came out of grad school.
Learn Tableau, guys. Tableau.
Man, look, I am
Gabrielle.
Tableau.
Okay, listen, learn Tableau. Learn Tableau, because sometimes you're gonna have to pull data from Tableau. I have to pull data from Tableau to put into Power BI. That's fine. Learn Tableau.
Oh my God.
Learn Tableau, whatever.
Play both sides.
Here's the thing though. When I was in grad school, and apparently this has changed, I've been told this by current Tulane students. when I was in grad school and we was at Tulane, they was like, listen, you better learn SAS. If you don't learn SAS, baby, you ain't nobody gonna hire you. You gonna die broke. Listen, we separating the men from the boys in here. I don't even know what y'all came here for if you ain't trying to learn SAS, baby. So I was in there with an iPhone 6 I could barely turn on, like, like just fighting for my life trying to learn SAS. So I graduated with knowing SAS, thinking I would only ever have to know SAS as an epidemiologist. And I came out, okay, I got a job now. Now I need to know SAS. And baby, got hired, and they basically hit me with a Jada Kiss laugh and said, here you go, baby. We're going to need you to go ahead and learn Power BI. Back when Power BI was in like the beta test version. Like I was learning Power BI back when we were beta testing it at my job. And like, bro, so now, but it was good for me though, because now not only do you need to know Power BI forces you to learn ArcGIS mapping, which paid. If you know how to do mapping, because everybody loves visuals. People don't know what you're talking about when you're doing a bunch of like that. People love visuals. People who are data illiterate love visuals. Power BI forces you to learn other things, because where are you getting this data from? You got to pull it. And how are you going to pull it? SQL. How are you going to pull it? Python. How are you going to pull it? Tableau. How are you going to pull it? JSON. It's compatible with everything. So learn Power BI, because it's the key to learning everything else, because you eventually going to have to know it. So
yeah. So do you know SQL, since you brought it up?
I do know SQL. I prefer Toad SQL. I like the Toad program. So we use Toad we use multiple things, because like some people like Oracle SQL. We use the Toad program, and we just pull from there. Via our data warehouse. That's what we use.
I got you. So I'm gonna get into this next question. And then I kind of wanted you to just say your job title real quick before I ask. So
my official job title is clinical data manager.
Okay. Nice. But you started as an analyst and worked your way up.
I started as an analyst, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
As an analyst.
All right.
But my whole thing, we all epidemiologists, and we have 2 physicians, and then one health analyst and 1 PhD. So that's our whole team.
Got you. Okay, we holding it down for the epidemiologists. Epidemiologists. But that's what's up, though. I'm glad. I'm glad we got you on, because we just try to. One thing that I'm firm on is, showing people that data is everywhere. You can merge it with your background. So, but you got an interesting story, and you should definitely write a book if you haven't. If you did, I need to buy it. But
we got a couple things in store. We got a couple things in store.
Okay. We waiting then. Gabrielle Perry, don't forget about us. #1 New York.
Oh God.
Make sure you put our podcast in there. I went on.
Listen, I don't forget nobody. When I'm out here balling, at the check cashing place for sure. I'm not gonna forget y'all.
I don't know. You said you got 3 razors. I said, let me hold some right here. But what kept you motivated, like during that whole time frame of being homeless and just everything you went through? Like what in your mindset, Gabrielle, you gotta make it happen?
I wish I could tell you something incredibly like positive and
nah, we want authentic. We want you.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like if any basketball fans listen, like I was very Michael Jordan at the Hall of Fame with a list of haters in his pocket, just absolutely on some, just I got something to prove. Fuck all y'all. Like I don't like, just pure spite. Like that carried me through. It really did. There were so many people wanting me to fail. And I don't fail. I do not fail. There is no quit in me.
I heard that.
I had never failed at nothing in my life. I do everything well. Everything I do is excellent.
All right, y'all hear them affirmation words now. I got to write that down after that. Look in the mirror like, I ain't never failed. What you mean?
And I tell people the most clarity I ever had was when I was homeless, because everything now is honestly much more difficult, because it's like a game of chess. I'm trying to figure out what I can do within the confines of other things. Work, the foundation, trying to figure out how these other things fit with other things. Back then, it was like checkers. It was just, okay, well, what move gets to the next move? And it was very much a straight line. And I knew everything I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. And I just let life be my teacher, and I just kept moving and kept getting to the next day. And even if I couldn't get to the next day, if I just could get to the next moment, even back when I was just eating, back then I was just most days eating 99-cent chip bags and ice cream, pints from the Korean mart next door to the house I was squatting in. I would only eat a full meal on Wednesdays from the church, because that was when they had they would prepare meals for the seniors, and I would volunteer because they always had leftovers, and they would just let people who volunteered keep it. And if that was the only thing I ate fully that week, then that was the only thing I ate fully that week, and that was fine. That was fine at the time, because I knew it wouldn't always be that way. I just knew that it would be fine. And I just never dwelled on it. I just kept going to the next day. And there were all these people who were so, because I think that as we look at poor people and we're just happy it's not us. And it's why my foundation exists the way that it does. I do not believe in pity. I do not believe in looking at people, especially these women that we help, women who are impacted by incarceration. I refuse to look at these women the way that I was looked at. I just refuse. I absolutely refuse. And I remember feeling as though, like, just all this fury, like just absolute fury at the time, at anybody who would look at me and think that I was ever going to fail. The audacity of you to think that I was ever going to be anything but this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me through it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's
very much so.
So it's all a mindset thing. That's all it does.
So like I said, I wish I could be, I know Oprah be bringing on people that got it was absolute pettiness.
But
fight,
look,
and it was.
But look, see, I look at it like, everybody's reason matters, because it's always somebody that's gonna relate to that. Everybody can't come in here and say. Everybody can't come say, yeah, I did yoga and I meditated and I affirmations in the mirror. Like, that's so
I had
common.
Middle fingers to the sky. No, I know you follow me on Twitter. Listen, who them tweets you see on Twitter, who I am on Twitter is exactly who I am in real life. I just wanted you to be prepared for that. I probably should have emailed you that.
It's what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it is. That's how, we keep it authentic, like how I talk, how everybody talk, they talk, saying I don't really try to impersonate myself. Even on Twitter, I keep it me. I can't be nobody else. So that's how it is. You just being yourself. Honestly, that's what attract people to want to follow you, is when they see you just being yourself. You ain't trying to impress nobody,
Flagging, no flagging.
No flagging. No flagging. You ain't flagging. But yeah, let's keep it going though. Let's get back into the show. I like what's going on. I like what we seeing.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it from here. So in regards to the data, did you always have a knack for technology, or were you naturally a curious person leading up to your career?
Definitely did not always have a knack for technology. I'll tell anybody who will listen, I'm the worst millennial ever. Mainly because I live by a mantra: if it ain't broke, why am I fixing it? I tend to hold on to things. I don't. My mama was a bit of a hoarder growing up, and I think that's a consequence of a lot of our parents, especially as Black folks. A lot of our parents, either didn't know where the next things were coming from. I always say Black folks invented recycling. We invented reuse, repurpose. And so if something broke, you fixed it, or you found another way to use it.
Right.
And so my mama never really threw a bunch of stuff away. and she just found a different way to use it. And I find myself to be the same way. I'll work with whatever I got as long as I can, try to get it fixed, do whatever. And I'm still that way. Whether it be cell phones, like I don't replace things unless I absolutely have to. I'll hold on to a cell phone forever, a computer forever, any piece of technology forever, and we'll just try to fix it. I don't know if that makes me tech-minded or not. But I will say I've always been a curious person. And I do think that if anything, this entire field has taught me patience. I haven't always been a patient person, but I think getting into this field too has taught me a lot of patience. Data analysis, especially, would teach you patience. So I think that I've always been curious, haven't always been tech-minded, and now I've become more patient.
That's good to know. You can use that patience in a lot of different areas of life as well.
Absolutely. I'm definitely not as frustrated with things, because a lot of data analysis, especially when you're talking about hard coding, like anybody talking about like not you SaaS enterprise guide girls. We're not talking about you girls like pressing buttons and stuff. We're talking about us hard coding girls. We're talking about girls that are like doing it from scratch. We're talking about us girls. The girls that are really hard coding out here, building it from scratch. When you spend time like really like trying to figure out errors in data, like trying to figure out where the problem is, like that really separates the men from the boys out here, honestly. Like when you got millions of people in a data set, something is wrong and you don't know what, and it's due tomorrow and you up till midnight trying to figure out what it is.
Wow.
It'll teach you some patience. Yeah,
that sounds like a lot. But I can see if you can get used to that, I can see how that'll build up over time.
That's my
As far as your area of focus, what made you choose epidemiology?
I think honestly, it's flexibility. And I always tell people it is so much you can do with it, because one, I think when I tell people epidemiology, they'd be like, what's that? A lot of people guess skin doctor because they confuse it with dermatology.
That's what I thought it was.
I can see that.
It's okay. Listen, that is the most common.
Skincare.
It's the most common. There's a shirt on Etsy right now that says epidemiology, not a skin doctor. I swear to God, it's okay. My grandmother in Dallas told everybody, "Oh my God, y'all, Gabrielle just graduated from medical school, y'all. Oh my God." When I finished grad school. But I think what gravitated me towards it is because it's flexibility, because you very likely have met an epidemiologist and did not know it. Most hospitalists, a lot of internists, the people who are at hospitals who determine whether or not you're going upstairs or not, tend to have epidemiology backgrounds. Everybody at the Department of Health is an epidemiologist. It just really is an incredibly flexible field. You can do anything with it. And I think a lot of people are just now, because of the pandemic, learning the tech side of it. You have to know how to code. You have to know about data. The one thing that I hate and that I learned in grad school, I learned this in grad school, but I did not know how much of a disservice they're doing these kids until I really got like deep into my career, is that in grad school, what they offer a lot of these kids who are, say, in like a community health program, if they're in like a maternal child health program, these are programs that are also considered public health. They will offer these kids what's called like an epi certificate or a biostatistics certificate in lieu of getting the full degree. Now, look, I know the girls on Twitter every day saying, hey, just get a certificate in this, get a certificate in this, or get certified in this and whatnot. I'll put it like my Epi 2 professor told me. Anybody can crunch some numbers. You know, anybody can make some numbers, do numbers. But it's the sophistication of thought. That's her exact word. It's the sophistication of thought that makes you an epidemiologist. Nobody's going to hire somebody with an epi certificate, somebody with a biostat certificate over a biostatistician, over an epidemiologist. And they scamming you. Like, they scamming you. That is a scam. And I think that, and honestly, you're doing yourself a disservice, because this is like some things in tech. I think what really attracted me to the field is that it's really a family in this field. Like, it's the Black women that I have met, the people that I have met, period. The women of color I've met in this field we're so few and far between. Like, we really support each other. Even before I had even graduated, when I went to conferences and stuff, they were like, see it through, see it through, see it through. And we here waiting on you. And they were there waiting on me. And I just, from that day to this one, like we it's just a field like no other. It really is. It's support like no other. And especially in the times that we living in now, I just needed that support. Plus, with the career advancement, there's like, honestly, there's no reason I should be 29 and have had 3 raises in the time period that I have.
Go, girl. Okay.
But it's because of that career advancement. It's because of that career advancement. It's because of the networking opportunities. It's because people looking out for me. It's because of us all looking out for each other. Like, there's such a dearth of us here, and we all trying to make a way for each other. And so I'm really glad that I stuck with it. I'm really glad that I found this field, and I'm just blessed.
Well, we're blessed to have you on here.
Definitely.
So after you got the degree, like, how difficult was it for you to get a job, like, given the background and everything?
I will say this. So my record was expunged in 2019, the spring of 2019. It's a process that is incredibly difficult as it stands. In fact, I am on a coalition that has been working for 2 years in the state of Louisiana for Clean Slate. And this is a coalition that's honestly nationwide, that is working in all different states to ensure that those who qualify can have their records expunged automatically. It's already passed in Utah. Colorado's going for it. And because Louisiana incarcerates the most people per capita in the entire world, we're trying, like, there's no reason why I should have had to pay $3,000 to get my record expunged. Like, there's no reason. That's the highest cost in the entire nation. And had I, and like in the video that Jamar was referring to, I specifically stated to the legislation that I would not be an epidemiologist had I not gotten my record expunged. It would not have happened. My job requires security clearance. It requires background checks. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't. In fact, even when my record was expunged, because you can Google my name right now, a lot of things will come up since. I've been interviewed on a lot of things. My boss is fully aware of my past, and she's fully aware of what I do now, fully aware of this interview occurring right now.
Hey, shout out to the boss.
Right.
Shout out to the boss.
Shout out to the boss. Shout out to the boss lady. She's fully aware of, how public my persona is and all that good stuff. Because I would never want her to be blindsided and whatnot. But before this, people had contacted like my school before. People had tried to like get me fired from things and whatnot. People had sent my mugshot to a professor, and not to my professor. People had sent my mugshot to the school, my undergrad school, and told them that I was cheating on a file that hadn't even been made yet. Like my professor was like, I haven't even made this file yet, so what the fuck is even happening? Like people were very, very just petty and weird about things. And it's why people don't even talk about their experiences as formerly incarcerated people, which is why most people do not realize that 1/3 of all Americans have a criminal record. 49% of my entire state has a criminal record. Half of all Louisianians have a criminal record, but you would never know those kind of things because people keep those things under wraps because it can literally destroy your life. Like, people are incredibly petty in the information age. Like, people, if they don't like you, or if they don't, or if they just need something to do, we're all online, we're all on the internet. And if people just, want to be hateful one day, I think 15,000 followers across all my social media. People hate the fact that I'm constantly advocating for formerly incarcerated people. And so I have to be very open about my past, because in that honesty, it, one, protects me. Because like I said, my boss is aware of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it also protects the people that we work with, like that we help in this coalition. In terms of, but before that, trying to get a job, it was damn near impossible. And that also speaks to why we do the work that we do, because the tech industry itself tries to market itself, and it is often heralded as the ones spearheading change in that arena. Like, you hear about places like Google, especially going directly into the prison system, especially out in California, going directly out into the prison system, recruiting directly inside of there. But reports from places like Prison Policy Initiative, for example, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan think tank that does research on these things. They report on these types of things. Places that purport to be friendly to people with felonies, to people who are formerly incarcerated and whatnot, are actually either not hiring formerly incarcerated talent at all, or when they do, they only hire men. And so my experiences prior to getting my record expunged, had I not gotten expunged, it honestly, we wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be talking to each other. We would not be talking to each other at all. And it's such a compounded issue for women, because you deal with so many different things. Like, I remember being sexually harassed by hiring managers, like when I was trying to get a job, because they knew that I was just some Black girl that couldn't get hired. I think that that same think tank I mentioned, they call it the prison penalty, because the demographic most unlikely to get hired after being incarcerated is Black women, despite the fact that Black men are the most likely demographic to be incarcerated. Once they come out, they are more likely to get hired than Black women. Black women, by a wide margin, are the least likely of all demographics to get hired. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And that thing too, is like, I always found that weird, because, as a person of the faith and just as a person of morality in general, it's like, yeah, you did something, whatever, but you already served your time, or you already faced your consequence. Like, it shouldn't be affecting you after you already went through your consequence. Like, it shouldn't be a stamp that, like, this person outside the community forever now. Like, because then what's the point in the consequence?
What's the point of doing 4 years, 5 years?
I'm telling you, the biases don't end. For example, like my nonprofit, we work directly inside the prisons for one of our programs. It's called Girl Code. And one of the prisons that we donate to, they have one of the universities is sponsoring a program that basically they give computers to the men who are incarcerated there. Like, it's like a 10-week program. They let the men work with the computers. They let them do job training. They let them do all type of stuff. And at the end of the 10 weeks or so, the men get to keep the computers. And I say men, because this is a co-ed facility. There are women there too, but the women don't have access to this program. And so that is a consequence of the mass incarceration epidemic only being synonymous with men. So very likely whoever thought of this program just figured, okay, well, we'll just approach the men about it. There are women at this facility too. We donate to them. We donate products to them. So why do the women who who could use job training, who could use like their literacy improved, like why are they not having access to this program? To the point where my organization is trying to figure out how we can donate computers to them, because that's not fair and that's not right.
I think because the system was, the system wasn't designed for us, which is its own topic. But I think it's definitely there's definitely a lot of bias, and
a lot of bias.
Hopefully with your organization and others, it'll change for the next generation, because within each generation it has to be advocates, it has to be the Martin Luther Kings and the the Coretta Scotts and all. It got to be people in every generation that make it better for the next. So
we do
contribution.
We do try. My lived experiences, I try to combine my experiences as a formerly incarcerated woman with my experiences as an epidemiologist. My organization, Thurman Perry Foundation, we are the only organization in the U.S. that is addressing the mental health of incarcerated women. So we donate on a monthly basis organic cotton mental health products to incarcerated women. We show up to the prisons every month, like clockwork. And since launching that program, our Girl Code program in September, we've donated 40,000 products to incarcerated women. It's crazy. And then
I'm gonna see how we could get all about the data to contribute towards the foundation.
We can talk now.
We gonna talk some more.
Well, now listen, if y'all want a scholarship in y'all name too, listen now, if y'all want to help. Because it's almost scholarship season for us now. We're trying to get some more data people out there. I always tell people, people have this misconception of what formerly incarcerated people can be. We just awarded $15,000 in scholarships just this month to women all over the country. Formerly incarcerated women, currently incarcerated women. We're giving scholarships to women who are currently incarcerated. Giving scholarships to women who are in the prison system. And we give scholarships to their daughters. So we give scholarships to like the daughters of people who are currently incarcerated. And 3 of the women that we awarded, and these are women across 10 states for this year. 3 of the women that we awarded, 2 of them are computer science majors, and one of them I think is an engineering major, and one of them is a formerly incarcerated woman. She is currently working as an intern at Disney and is trying to pave the way for other formerly incarcerated women. So it's all about listen, so you wanna dedicate all about the data scholarship. Now we could, whatever you want to do, talk to me.
We could do that. We could do that. Like we could set up.
Marinate on it. Marinate.
Marinate. Hey, that's that NOLA slang.
Let me tell you, my biggest destiny, my biggest purpose beyond everything is helping people. As a follower of Christ, that's what I do. So, like, I believe your foundation is doing that. It's helping out people that they gonna have unnecessary, uncommon sense to me issues when they get out because they already done did their time. That's like you go in there, you do 5 years, now you still got to come out and struggle. I think it's designed because they want you to go back in there, but that's a whole nother topic too. But yeah, we could talk about that. I'm with that. The scholarship, the whatever we could do, I'm with that. So we'll talk more after this podcast. But where we was at with it, let's get back to the show. All about the data, baby. It's going down. But I'm really liking this conversation, though.
Me too. Me too. I got some great questions.
Yeah, we be on it.
Dang, I forgot it was my question. Looking at this stuff. So cool. Could you give us in and out of like your day to day as a clinical data manager, and tell us the Power BI stuff because I represent Power BI.
I'm gonna be a strong second on that one.
I told you, boy. Listen, I didn't know if this is gonna be the technicalities of it. Because let me tell you. So I wake up every day about 6 a.m. I make a full breakfast because right now my whole company, I really love my job. They care a lot about us. I'm very blessed to work at a company that cares a lot about it. We've been on mandatory work at home for 2 years. They have shut the entire company down. They literally selling off buildings to ensure that we all stay safe, and have switched the entire company into either a hybrid mode or you have a choice of working at home. Everybody just got company-wide raises. I mean, they really doing it up for us. So I have been switched to now because I used to commute to work every day to my office, but I am just kind of really like truly settling into my work at home life. So I wake up at 6 a.m. every day, fix myself a full breakfast, then I walk 10 feet to my bed, get back in bed, and log into work.
Facts.
And mainly, oh my God, I'm working on so many projects. Oh, Jesus, my day can mainly because I like the fact I think that my job is mainly like we really do like consist of like teamwork. Like if every day is like us working in teams, like even though we are a team, but there's three of us primarily that are analysts. Like we the coders, like we the ones that do like the data. So any given day, we all got to check in with each other and figure out like who's doing what, who's doing this, and where we are with the given project. I have like 5 dashboards going right now, and all of them are public facing. Or forward facing rather, meaning that I share them out with the entire company. And so, and probably refresh them at least on a monthly basis. And so for me, they're all, I just, my tool of choice is Power BI. Just because of the ease of use, I'm trying, just because we're really in a learning phase right now where I'm trying to teach everybody at the company like how to use it, or at least how to interpret what I'm doing, because you know you have Power BI desktop, which is for architects, and then you have Power BI service, which is for other people to like see what you're doing. And so it's a bit of a learning curve like for the bosses, because they weren't taught like what this is. Like while all of us, like all the architects and stuff, like we were in 2 years ago, we're told, hey, learn what this is, not ever thinking that this would matter. We were all SaaS heads. And so now there's this big push of like, okay, we're converting every single day Excel reports to Power BI. They want everything automated. And so now it's like, okay, everything's gonna be forward facing, everything automatic. We want everything to be a push button refresh. And so now I think my day to day is just literally going into SQL or going into Excel and getting everything ready to go into Power BI, transform the data, and get everything ready to be just straight Power BI, and just have it be a click of the button refresh.
What database do you use for SQL?
For SQL?
Yeah.
We use Enterprise Data Warehouse at my job.
Okay. Which,
I mean, it's fine. I just don't. It's okay. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not, because that'll take another hour. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain. If I complain, God said don't complain. You know, you got to bear your burdens.
Me and SQL used to be enemies, but we becoming cool now. You know,
what do you use for your SQL? Because I like Toad. Mainly because I think it's cute, and I like the little ribbit sound it makes when you fire it up.
So, when I took the Google course, I was using BigQuery, but now on my own time, I got attracted to Postgres for some reason. So I've been using Postgres. It's real user friendly. I'm taking a LinkTree course on it now. Yeah, so I think Postgres and MySQL are going to be like the main ones that I use.
I'm also one of those people who don't feel like, oh, I need to learn every single thing. Like one of my coworkers was trying to get me to, like, he was like, oh, you need to go ahead and learn Python. Like I was like, for what? We never got like the engine, like we never gonna use Python in my department. For what purpose? And what stand am I ever gonna use Python? Ever, never.
Yeah.
I'm not building websites. I'm never gonna use Python. I do need to learn Tableau, unfortunately.
Okay, then. So you try to run from it.
I've been using I've been using Tableau lately because we house certain data in there. Like we house our baby data. So I've been working with like our data for like babies and like our newborns and stuff like that, because it's been known that, you know, with COVID and stuff like that, you know, everybody's been concerned about, and I had done an interview with the Telegraph about it. Like there were so many faux rumors and stuff about the vaccines harming, you know, your unborn child and stuff like that. And so of course it's important for everybody in any kind of public health and medical means to be tracking baby data at this point. And so we house our pregnancy data and our public health data, our pregnancy data and our baby data, unborn, newborn data and stuff like that in Tableau. And so we pull our baby data from Tableau and then we put it into Power BI. The thing that I do hate though is that I'll never be able to use Power BI to its full capabilities, because when you're talking about protected health information, the fact that Microsoft Power BI, like that Power BI service function, Jafar, you know what I'm talking about, like service being like once you publish the data, service going over like that URL, like it being a URL going from like that desktop function, like
that's why we got Tableau.
So it's not in compliance. I didn't know it wasn't in compliance with HIPAA. It's not
in compliance with HIPAA.
That's why we got Tableau.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. There were a lot of internal meetings at my job for almost a year or so. A lot of people were having a lot of meetings about it. Before we even really started for real using it, because you know there are different built-in security functions about like who can see what in Power BI, like who can share what, and even when you share things to different people, there's a feature where like, okay, let's say I'm sharing something with all three of y'all. I can make it to where all three of y'all are seeing different things on one thing that I'm sharing in Power BI. Even so, that is still if I share something from the desktop downloaded version from Power BI desktop to Power BI service, that is still an open URL as opposed to like a file being shared. That is an open URL sharing protected health information.
That's a no-go.
So it's still like I would love to be able to like pull from SQL and have like live data running, like a live stream of data and just have it stream like daily. I would love that. Like a live stream of data just running daily. Almost like if you go into your iPhone app and you see like the stock running every day. I would love that.
It's interesting that you say that from your perspective, because I know in marketing that's something that we would do, you know, depending on what we're tracking.
I would, but you can't do that when you're talking about people's like diagnoses and stuff like that. You cannot do that. So because you never know who's seeing stuff. There's a concern about, you know, somebody being able to hack that. So you just always want to be careful about like who's using what, who's, you know.
So have you guys had to like with everything going on, have you guys had to like up your security?
They limit what files we're able to share and stuff like that over Power BI. Some things will always live in the data warehouse. Some things will only ever be shared via Excel files, person to person, like via email and stuff like that. Some things will just, you know, be sent as confidential files. Some things I'll never have access to. Like, for example, pharmacy data, like, you know, prescription data, stuff like that. I've never worked with. Like a lot of our data lives in different places and stuff like that. Some things will never touch Power BI because if you publish it out, it's over that protected URL. So some things will never live in Power BI ever.
Got you. All right. Well, as we get to the top of the hour, I wanted to ask you, like, how do you stay current? Like, you know, with your tools that you're using and everything, what are some things you do to stay current?
You help a lot with that. I be paying attention with some of the resources that you post, and I do appreciate it. I also appreciate the fact my job helps a lot with that. They post series and free learning tools, like an endless supply and library of free learning tools to ensure that we all stay current, because they want us to stay current and they want to foster our growth. And I love that about my job. Because everybody who's been working at my job is working there like 10, 20 years. I know people who are a little bit older than me, who I know one girl at my job, she's been there, like, I think this is going to be her 10th year there. And she continues to turn down not raises. She continues to turn down promotions because she refuses to work for anybody except her boss. Like he just continues to give her raises. Like she refuses to do anything except work for him. And he'll just continue to promote her within that department because she just loves like her particular role and the jobs like within that team. Like she loves working with her team, with her boss. And it's just that kind of environment. Like once you find that role for you, like once you find like something that you really like to do, it's hard to leave it. And I can see myself honestly doing the same thing because I really like my job. I really like the fact that my boss encourages me to get better. I remember being afraid to even turn on my computer when I first started. Because I swear, because I was like, oh shit, like, because it's really hard. Like, it to me, it's never gonna get easier because it's always gonna be a new challenge. And I don't know if that's, I mean, I won't say it's a bad thing. I won't say it's a bad thing to always be challenged at your job, but I never forget the stakes of my job because the work that we do is important. These are real people. It's not just numbers in a system, in a machine. And that's a lot of pressure. Like that's people, you know what I'm saying? And I'm only 3 years into it. And it's still the weight of that never leaves me. Especially given my background, especially given my parents and stuff like that. Like you got to make sure that, you know, you paying attention. But I like the fact that they foster our development. And I like the fact that like our job cares about us and they care about like us getting better. And in the 3 years I done been there, I just try to get better. Like every day I try to get better. And I remember like the first day that like my old boss told me like, hey, like, I want you to learn Power BI. I remember like sitting down with it for 2 weeks over like that Christmas break. And I was like, what is this? This is bullshit. Like, we ain't never going to use this. And, and now like I log into it every day like it ain't nothing. And like I teach my boss what it is and I teach her how to look at it. And I'll be like, no, this is how you do it. And I teach our big bosses like what it is and this is how it looks. And can put together a dashboard, like a full-blown dashboard in like a day and a half. And can feel confident in it going to whoever. Like, cause we report out to like government officials and stuff sometimes, like, or something I'm confident in something going beyond me. And I'm proud of that. Like, I love that. I think that's cool. And I think that a lot of people in tech, I think, feel that way, that, you know, it's something that can live beyond you.
That's good that you know that you like your job and the environment. That's very important when, you know, when building your career and everything, is finding a place that you feel like you could stay and not job hop, you know. So that's good. But yeah, we at the top of the hour. We got just a few more questions for you, and we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. All about the data. We appreciate everybody that's tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube, the Spotify, the Apple, the Google podcast. Make sure you join the Discord. We almost have 4,000 members, so y'all already know what it is. All about the data, baby. Quant King J, I'm going to throw the football to you. Make a touchdown for me. What's going on?
This guy here. What fools, I tell you. Oh, my gosh. All right, so our tech titan right now is Pawn, the technical writer advocate. Thank you, Pawn. He currently owns a Twitter community. Wait, that's Twitter? TW?
No,
technical. All right, cool. Pawn is our technical writer advocate, and he owns a technical writing community in Discord. He also hosts Twitter Spaces to help people get into tech, and also posts tweets about JavaScript, React, and web development.
Yeah, shout out to Pawn, man. Pawn is one of my Twitter tech brothers. So we had to shout him out as a tech titan for for this episode.
And y'all can find him on Elixir_JS on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Yeah, we're gonna put him in the show notes. But Gabrielle, before we end this here, what advice do you have for people that's trying to pivot specifically into epidemiology, data analyst? I'm gonna get that word right one day without stuttering.
Let's see. What advice? Hook up with if you Black, hook up with Black epidemiology Twitter. Like Black epidemiology Twitter will hold you down. I ain't met nobody fugazi, nobody scammy in there in the 3+ years that I've been a part of them. They all lit. They all about it. Black and Effie, we hold it down. And I would also say consider Tulane. Because they're trying to get their numbers up as far as people of color go. It's a good school. They really did care about us. They definitely tried to foster your development. It's a great school for Effie. Top rank. I care about my alma mater. They care about you and they take care of you. And I'd say look into, like, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like look into it. It's flexible. It's a flexible career. You can do anything with it. You don't even got to go be an epidemiologist. Like you can, a lot of people went to med school from it. Like if you're looking for a pivot point from that, if you want to go to PA school, if you want to go to nursing school from Effie, like you can literally do anything from epidemiology. Like that's your career point. It's very flexible. Look into it.
Got you. All right. And so what's next for you? What's next for Gabrielle?
What's next for me? So me personally, I need to get probably about one more raise by the beginning of next year. What does that sound?
I guess say one more raise. You ain't playing. You trying to kick them doors down.
Next year, baby. I need to get one more raise for the beginning of next year. It's a lot of upper mobility, I'm telling you. I need to get one more raise at my actual job before the beginning of next year. As far as my nonprofit goes, we are expanding our Girl Code program to North Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, and the DMV area. The DMV area for sure this year, guaranteed to donate 100,000 organic cotton menstrual products by the end of the year. We've done this off absolutely no grant funding, straight donations, the streets with us. So make sure y'all do too. Catch us at www.thurmanperryfoundation.com if you support public health and support women. And I'm just out here trying to make the world a better place. As corny as that may sound, but I'm trying to make
it man, why you gotta be corny? That's good. That's lit. Well, we trying to make it a better place. We good.
Trying to make it a better place, man. Trying to make it a better place. For real, I'm telling you. I mean, it was tough out here for me. Nobody cared about me when it was me. And I'm trying to make sure somebody care about these women.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that All About the Data stand on is helping people, beginners helping beginners, experts helping beginners, experts helping experts. That's what it's all about. So we definitely appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate everyone for tuning into All About the Data. Make sure you follow Gabrielle. We're going to put all her information in the show notes. Give her a follow. Support the foundation too, man. It's a good cause. Don't shy away.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all are great, man. This was lovely.
Already, so make sure once again y'all follow All About Data on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple. Join the Discord if you haven't joined already. Tap in the sequel Saturdays. We do it every Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you can come on live. If you miss it, then you could catch the replay. All right. With that being said, All About the Data, baby. Peace.
Bye.